Motion in two dimensions. Projectile motion. As we know that motion in two dimension is considered as if any body moves along the two dimensions at a time or simultaneously, that is called motion in two dimensions. Or we can say if a body moves along the two directions, let's say x and y, at a same time, that is called motion in two dimensions. For the motion in two dimensions, there are examples. One is projectile motion and other one is circular motion. These are the two types of motion in two dimensions. Okay, so we will study about the projectile motion. Projectile motion. Let's say study of projectile bodies or projectile motion or motion is called, let's say, ballistic physics, or option B, plasma physics, let's say astrophysics, or option D, none of these. So in which branch we study about the projectile motion? So correct answer will be ballistic physics. In a ballistic physics we study about the projectile motion. Okay. Then what is projectile motion? Projectile motion is considered as if a body, let's say, if a body is projected with some initial velocity and it moves under the action of gravity, is called, उसे हम क्या कहेंगे, let's say projectile motion. ठीक है, or we say let's say free fall motion, or option C, free fall motion, projectile motion, UCM. ठीक है, D, none of these. So what will be correct answer? If a body is given some initial velocity and moves under the action of gravity in a curved path, okay, in a curved path, let's say in a curved path, is called projectile motion. There are two types of projectile motion. One is oblique and other is horizontal projectile motion. So oblique projectile motion is the motion when a body is projected with some angle with the horizontal axis, that is called oblique projectile motion. So let's say for oblique projectile motion, let we write, if a body is projected with certain angle with x-axis and moves along curved path under the action of gravity. Under the action of gravity, the angle must be, or in other words, for a oblique projectile, what should be the angle? Angle should be greater than 0, less than 90, or angle should be greater than 90, or angle should be greater or equal to 0, less or equal to 90, or option D, angle should be greater than 0 but less or equal to 180. Okay, option E, none of these. Then what should be the condition for oblique projectile motion? Okay, then for the oblique projectile motion, the condition must be angle should be greater than 0 but less than 90. So correct answer is A. Okay. Let's say if we are taking a shell was projected with initial angle of, let's say, 5 pi over 36. Okay, if a shell was projected with initial angle 5 pi by 36 radian, okay, with positive x-axis with positive x-axis to hit the target. Okay, it was assumed that Hill prevented the target. Let's say if in between the target and the shooter there is a hill, it was assumed that if the hill just prevented, let's say prevented the target at what angle must be fired, shell fired to hit the target. Okay, एक टारगेट है जिसे we are shooting with a shell and in between there is a hill. If hill just prevent the target, then at what angle must shell fire to hit the target? Let's say option A is 5 pi over 36 radian, 5 pi over 36 radian, or 11 pi over 36 radian, or we may say 7 pi over 36 radian, or we may say 13 pi over 36 radian. Okay, then what will be the correct answer? As we discussed, for the oblique projectile motion, the angle must be equals to pi by 2. Then pi by 2. If a shooter shoots or fire the shell at an angle 5 pi over 36, then we have to subtract 5 pi over 36 from the pi over 2, because of this is the maximum angle. Okay, then what we will get, this is 36. Okay, this will be 18 pi minus 5 pi, and this will we get 13 pi by 36. The correct answer is 13 pi over 36. If a shooter shoots or hits the target, it must fire the shell at an angle of 13 pi over 36. Okay, as we know that projectile motion is the two-dimensional motion, so it has two components. It simultaneously covers moves along the two dimensions, x-axis as well as y-axis. Then it must cover in a distance in horizontal direction as well as in vertical direction, and also all the components must be in horizontal also and vertical will be also, except acceleration. Okay, for the projectile motions there are certain conditions. We will not discuss here these conditions because of we only discuss the MCQs. Okay, so if we take the equations, let's say the equations x is equal to vx into t and y is equal to v naught y t minus 1 over 2 gt square. These equations are depends upon common variable time, that is called, उस टाइम को हम क्या कहेंगे, लेट्स से टाइम को कहेंगे इट विल बी टाइम कांस्टेंट, और वी में से it is a parameter. Okay, or we may say it is a let's say it time is or both d, none of these. Then what is time? Here time is a parameter. If a time is parameter, then these equations are called the above equations. Above equations are called parametric equations. Parametric equations. Okay, so those equations which depends upon common variable time, and time is known as parameter, so those equations are considered as a parametric equations. Okay, in projectile motion, which component of motion is uniform? कौन से कंपोनेंट को हम यूनिफॉर्म कहेंगे? लेट्स से वर्टिकल or horizontal or both, D, none of these. Which one component is known as uniform component motion in projectile motion? So as we take, this is the projectile motion. Let's say this is the projectile motion. It has velocity here Vy and Vx. This is Vy. If this is at this point, this is Vx, this is Vy. Vy is decreased, and this point it has a Vx component. So Vx component is constant because of gravity does not affect on horizontal component of velocity. So that's why acceleration जो है वो produce नहीं होगी. So that's why horizontal component of projectile motion is taken as a uniform motion. Okay. If horizontal motion जो है वो uniform होगा, then the acceleration along the horizontal will be 0. If we take ax in projectile motion, ax in projectile motion will be 0, will be maximum, okay, positive or negative. What will be this? This will be 0 because of horizontal component of projectile motion is uniform. Okay. After that, what will be horizontal if let's say okay, this is projectile motion, this is projectile motion, this is the highest point, this is highest point, this point is called, let's say, the highest point in projectile motion is कौन सी पॉइंट होगी? दैट इज प्रोजेक्शन पॉइंट और ऑप्शन बी इम्पैक्ट पॉइंट. लेट्स से के समिट पॉइंट आर डी, none of these. Then highest point in the projectile motion is known as summit point. तो correct answer is summit point. This is summit point. At summit point, which one is correct? For summit point, which one is correct? Let's say Vy is 0 at that point. Okay, or we may say कि velocity and acceleration are perpendicular at that point, or we may say कि it is the highest point reached by projected body, or D, all of these. So what will be correct answer? Vy is also here equals to 0, and this is a point where Vx and acceleration is perpendicular at that point, and it is also highest point reached by projectile body. So correct answer will be all of these. Okay, and if we say कि h maximum height equals to v naught square sin square theta over 2g. Maximum height is attained at, maximum height is attained at an angle of, let's say, 0 degree, 90 degree, 60 degree or 45 degree, then this is the sine theta, and sine theta has a maximum value at 90 degree, so maximum height will be attained at 90 degree. Okay, if we want to throw the ball with some velocity, it reaches at point H. It reaches at point H. Let's say if a object or body is projected with vertically upward, it covers height h. If same body is projected horizontally, it covers range in terms of height. हाइट के टर्म्स में रेंज कितनी कवर करेगा, दैट मस्ट बी इक्वल टू एच, इक्वल टू एच, इक्वल टू एच बाय टू, आर वी में से 2h or let's say k 4h. Okay, then what will be the correct answer? If a body is projected in upward direction, 2gh is equal to, with initial velocity 0, then at highest point its velocity will be 0. So this is the velocity with which it is projected, and it reaches at the maximum height h. Okay, if same body is thrown with some horizontal, then we say v square maximum जो है वो कितनी रेंज कवर करेगा. ओके, रेंज मैक्सिमम इज इक्वल टू v नॉट स्क्वायर v स्क्वायर ओवर g. ओके, देन this will v square is equal to 2gh over g, g get cancelled, r maximum will cover equal to twice of h. So correct answer is 2h. Okay, covers maximum range. In terms of height, that will be range maximum is equal to 2h. Okay, if we say k two projectiles are projected with same velocity at an angles of 30 degree and 60 degree, then ratio of their height reaches, it means that h1 over h2, we have to calculate h1 over h2. Let's say k, correct answer will be under radical 3 ratio 2 or under radical 3 ratio 4, or we may say k 2 ratio under radical 3 or 4 ratio under radical 3. Okay, then what will be the correct answer? Here we see h1 is equal to v naught square sine square theta over 2g, and it is projected at an angle of 30 degree. So v naught square over 2g and sine square 30, this will becomes v naught square over 2g and sine 30. Sine 30 is how much? 1 over 2. Sine 30 is how much? 1 over 2. So this will be 1 over 2, and squaring it we get v naught square over 2g into 1 by 4. Okay, and h2 is equal to v naught square sine square theta over 2g, and v naught square over 2g is equal into sine square 60. This will be get v naught square over 2g, and sine 60 is equal to under radical 3 over 2, 0.866. Squaring this we will get v naught square over 2g and 3 over 4. Okay, then now we find the ratio h1 over h2. What is h1? v naught square over 2g over 4, okay, divided by v naught square over 2g and 3 over 4. So this will we get h1 over h2 v naught square over 2g into 4 and 2g into 4 over v naught square into 3. 2g get cancelled, this cancelled, v naught square get cancelled, 1:3. तो अच्छा, ऑप्शन हमने कोई नहीं लिखा, तो ऑप्शन E 1:3. अगेन इफ़ वी वांट टू यूज़ दी डायरेक्ट मेथड, अगर हम इसका ये सारा जो है वो ना करना चाहें तो इन अ शार्ट हम कैसे कर सकते हैं? एज वी नो दैट हाइट इज़ डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू साइन स्क्वायर थीटा. तो साइन स्क्वायर इंटू 30 डिग्री ओवर h2 साइन स्क्वायर इंटू 60 डिग्री. ओके, this will be equal to sine 30 is equal to 1 over 2, and we get 1 over 4 divided by sine 60 will be equal to under radical 3 over 2, तो उसका स्क्वायर 3 over 4. तो this will we get h1 over h2 1:4, 1 over 4 into 4 over 3. This will we get 1:3. So this is the correct answer, 1:3. Okay, if we take another one, let's say two projectiles are projected with same initial velocity at an angle of theta and 90 minus theta. The ratio of their height reached, okay, ratio of their height reached will be, let's say k 10:1, ठीक है, or 10 square 1, 10 square theta, ठीक है, or we say 1:10 square, or we may say we may say 1:10. Okay, then what will be the correct answer? Let us see that two projectiles are projected at an angle theta. h1 is equal to v naught square 2g and sine square theta. This is theta. Okay, let's say this is equation 1, and other projectile is projected at an angle of sine square 90 minus theta, and we know that sine 90 minus theta is equal to cos theta. sin 90 minus theta is equal to cos theta. So H2 will be equal to V naught square over 2g, and this will be cos square theta. Okay, then now find the ratio H1 over H2. V naught square over 2g, V naught square over 2g will get cancelled, remaining sin square theta over cos square theta. This will become tan square theta ratio 1. So correct answer is tan square theta ratio 1. Okay. After that, if we take the reached height same and we find the ratio of their velocity, or let's say if a projectile is projected with initial velocity of v naught, ठीक है, it reaches at height maximum of h if r with what velocity it must be projected as it covers twice the height than original. Okay, let's say 2v naught radical to v naught, or we may say v naught over 2 or v naught over 2 under root 2 radical 2. Okay, so what will be the correct answer? Let's say h is equal to v naught square sin square theta over 2g is the formula for maximum height. This is the maximum height formula, and this is, let's say this is h1. Okay, h1, and let's say this is v1, and this is equation 1, and other one r, by neglecting this we get directly proportional to v naught square. Okay, and for another twice of the height v naught square. Then by solving this, let's say h1 over 2h, we are getting the ratio. Okay, twice of the h1 then original, then this is v1 square over v2 square. By cross multiplying, h1 into v2 square is equal to v1 square into 2h1. h1 get cancelled, and v2 square is equal to 2v1 square. By here is the square, and there will be under radical to v naught square, so v2 will be equal to under radical to v1. If we increase the velocity under root 2 times to that of the original, then height will be twice of the height than the original. Okay, or if we say two projectiles are projected at angle of 30 degree and 60 degree respectively. They attain the same height. Find ratio of their velocities. What will be the ratio of their velocities? We say h1 equals to h2. अच्छा सॉरी, हमने ऑप्शंस नहीं लिखे. ओके। और लेट से बाद में ऑप्शंस लिख लेते हैं। h1 इज इक्वल टू h2, तो दिस इज v1 स्क्वायर साइन स्क्वायर थीटा ओवर 2g। दिस इज v2 स्क्वायर साइन स्क्वायर थीटा over 2g, 2g get cancelled, v1 square over v2 square, we will get sine square theta, this is 2 over sine square theta 1. Okay, so this will we get k v1 over v2, this will be sine theta, and this is 30 degree, sine 60, sorry, theta 2 is sine square is 60 degree over sine square into 30 degree. Okay, so this will be v1 over v2 equal to sine 60 over sine 30, simply because of here is also a square, here is also a square, so this will neglect. Okay. अच्छा, साइन 60 इज इक्वल टू अंडर रेडिकल 3 over 2, ओके, डिवाइडेड बाय साइन 60 इज इक्वल टू 1 over 2, तो दिस विल बी अंडर रेडिकल 3 over 2 and 2 over 1, दिस इज गेट कैंसल्ड, रेडिकल 3 ratio 1, तो व्हाट विल बी इनिशियल वेलोसिटीज, लेट्स से 1 ratio रेडिकल 3 ratio 1, or we may say 2 ratio radical 3 r under radical 3 ratio 2. So what is the correct answer? Correct answer is v1 over v2 is radical 3 ratio 1. This is the ratio of their velocities. Okay. Acha, if we say another one, let's say the relation between maximum height and time of flight. Time of flight is, okay, relation between maximum height and time of flight can be given is, let's say h is equal to gt square by 4, h is equal to gt square over 8, or h is equal to 8 over gt square, or option D, h maximum equals to 4 over gt square. Okay, so what will be correct answer? Let's see. Okay, maximum height is, we know that maximum height equals to v naught square sine square theta over 2g. This is the 2g. Okay, and time of flight t is equal to 2 v naught sine theta over g. Okay, so v naught sine theta over g will be equal to 2, here is multiplying, this will divide v naught sine theta over g. Here if we multiply g and divide also g, this will we get v naught square sine square theta into g over 2g square. This is the maximum height. This is v naught square sine square theta over g. This we can write as this g over 2. Okay, g over 2 equals to v naught square into v naught square sine square theta over g square. So by squaring this, if we squaring this will we get t square over 4 this will equals to V naught square sine square theta over G square. So this is V naught square sine square theta over G square, and this is equal to T square over 4. So if we place at the place of this T square over 4, so G by 2 into T square over 4, so this will equals to GT square over 8. The relation between maximum height and time of flight is GT square over 8. Okay, so correct answer is GT square over 8. Acha, if we say what is the relationship between maximum height and maximum range, if we relate the maximum height relation between maximum height and maximum range is let's say k maximum height equals to R maximum, R2R maximum, R maximum height is equal to R maximum over 2, or let's say k H is equal to maximum height is equal to R maximum by 4. Option D none of these. अच्छा, इसके लिए as we know that maximum range is attained at an angle of 45 degree. This is equals to V naught square over G. This is formula for the maximum range. Okay, then what will be height? If we take the height V naught square over G, this is sine square theta, and if we take the angle 45, V naught square over G sine into 45 degree, this will be equals to sine square into sine 1 over 2 under radical 2 whole square. So maximum height will be equal to V naught square over G into 1 over 2. Okay, sorry, this is 2G, this is 2, because of maximum height is equal to V naught square sine square theta over 2G. So this will be get V naught square over 4G, and maximum range is equal to V naught square over G. So at the place of V naught square over G, we place R maximum over 4 same. So this is maximum height is equal to R maximum over 4. This is the relation. Okay, height maximum will be equal to R maximum over 4, and height is maximum at an angle of 45 degree. Acha, if we want to double the height, then velocity should be increased by under root times. Okay, if we want to increase the time is equal to V naught sine theta over G. This is the time of, let's say, ascending or descending, and total time will be 2t. This is total time. This will be equal to twice of single time. Okay.